Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Soulpreneur Network. Today, I brought my friend Katie Momo into the high vibe conversation. Katie, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm always ready for a high vibe combo.
Awesome. I'm so excited for the topic today. I know so many of you are out there that have recently learned that you are a projector, and you are probably pulling out your hair saying, what does that mean for my business? Kelly, what do you mean by I'm designed to work 2 to 3 hours a week? I have so many things I want to get done in my business. How can I be successful? I'm sure you're asking these questions. So I brought my dear friend Katie to the conversation because Katie not only is an expert in her own right of content and copy, she is a very successful projector in business. So Katie, again, welcome. Can you just give us an introduction of who you are and what you are expert in?
Yeah, of course. My name is Katie Momo. I am a copywriter and content. I'm a writer and I'm a coach as well. So I sort of do a mix of both, which I love. It's always about like finding the right balance of things. I have worked with so many different kinds of businesses, and I've been able to really specialize in certain areas that it's like, the right mix of like people really, really need this. And I'm also really, really great at it. So I think just like we were chatting just before we started this, and Kelly was talking about part of the projector strategy is really owning your value. And that is definitely something that I do. And it's a key part of what makes my business work.
Yeah, that's why I'm highlighting she is an expert, because that is part of the projector strategy. So I actually want to highlight it right here and put it into action. Part of the conversation that's going to go so well today is like, I see her as someone of value and an expert, and I am primed and ready to receive the goodness that you have to offer. Like, I am excited. And we talk about even marketing and we talk about projector strategy. That's what you want for the people that are going to receive. When you speak, you want the person sitting in the other side, the audience, which is me, I'm an audience today, to receive all the goodness, and they're ready for it. So get ready for this high vibe conversation.
This
So,
is great.
so Katie, I had the opportunity to do a human design reading on you months ago. I think probably September, October now. Now, I believe you knew you were a projector before that, and some of your comments were, this is why I do what I do. Can you speak to that a little bit more? And maybe how did you find out you were different? And did you apply that in your business? Because you are different. We'll just say that you are different. Meaning, and for anyone that's new to this and listening to this, is projectors are a 200-year-old on this planet energy type. And really, the world is designed to speak to and to operate for generators and manifesting generators and manifestors, not projectors. So when I use the word different, I use that in a very loving sense. I find projectors fascinating. So off to you, Katie.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that you were talking about is that, we do have low energy. We can only work a few hours a day. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I do. I remember even back in high school, like, as people were preparing to set sail in their careers, plan their career path, I was like, none of those things, like traditional work environments, are going to work for me. Like I have to nap a few times a day to get through, and I burn out really easily. Like I did a huge actual burnout by not following what what I need to do. And I just realized, like, the very traditional ways of working, I can't do that, but I'm still amazing. And I just needed to find a way that worked for me. So I started, I did, office jobs, I was in corporate, and I was the person who was always having a nap. Like I worked for a multi-billion-dollar organization doing social media for them as part of one of my roles. And like the CEO was like, that girl is always napping. Like I would go in the break room and have a nap because I needed to. And I just know that like I feel myself tapping out and I'm like, gotta recharge. And that was just always part of what I was doing. And I knew a long time ago I wanted an online business so I could, work from wherever. I can work from home, I can travel and work and do all that sort of stuff. So this is like years and years ago, like way before online business was a thing or cool, or like no one knew what Zoom was or all of these things. Like people, like my husband would tell people what I do and they think like I started during the pandemic, and he's like, oh, no, 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 no. Like she was doing this like way before.
Yeah.
And
Go
I'm
ahead.
able to rest as well during the day and create my work-life balance.
Okay, so I can feel like the rhythm you create, like, like exert energy, rest, exert,
Yes.
rest. Is there anything else you do to replenish your energy levels besides napping or resting? Is there any other like ninja tricks that you do?
I think I only take projects that I really care about. Like I don't, my work is so fun and so juicy. And I get to work with like people that blow my mind that I get to work with them. So even though I'm working, even though it takes energy, it's still fun and exciting for me. I've also realized that for me personally, this may not be a projector thing, but keeping things fresh and doing something different all the time is really important for me. So I try to do services where I like would provide the same outcome every month.
Mm.
I can't do that. My body, my brain, like it has none of that. I have to do something where I'm always taking on a new project. And even in my coaching, it's like every month we're doing something different. We're having a new focus. So we get to change topics. So it's always fresh. So that just might be a Katie thing. I know some people work like that. Other people want to do the same thing all the time. And honestly, that is great. I wish I could be like that, but I'm not. So, so much of it is just learning your own quirks and leaning into it.
I'm curious, is it still under the same umbrella though of content and copy? And you're just
Mhm.
trying new ways of doing this and kind of improving it. So that process improvement probably comes out, or
Absolutely.
okay, that curiosity. So
Yeah,
that would be the
definitely.
projector. That would definitely be like a high vibe projector.
Yeah, it's like it
Awesome.
all plays into each other. Like, I coach, a certain group and then I'm like, oh, this is really working for them. Then I'm like, oh, I can apply it to these other, people that I coach who are completely different, but like I can modify it and see. So I'm always like learning and tweaking and testing, and that's really fun for me.
I love that. Yeah, you're leveraging another fun high vibe thing that inspires you and you're applying it back into your business. But for a projector, we'll get back to the traditional projector is about becoming that expert. So not only seeing the
Mhm.
potentiality of really owning and honing that expertise, you are honing that expertise as you are kind of tweaking and going, oh, this work, let's try it here. Oh, like innovation and action, right? And it's continuing to hone that expertise is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the things that is, from what I was reading about projectors, is that we do love to learn new things. We do love to like, perfect things. So that's always being part of something that I like to do too, where I, always take a new little course. It might not be super related to what I do, but I'm like, I think like there's going to be some crossover thing that I'll be able
Yeah,
to apply. So I really enjoy that. And I consider that really my work as well.
I love that. Um, did you ever source your value? So I'm going to get back to that working, the amount of time you work in a day and giving yourself permission to rest. And did you ever struggle with, the sourcing your value from the amount of work? So, I was talking before this of I have twins that are projectors. They are being raised by two manifesting generators, one of which was born and raised on a dairy farm. They have a very strong, like you work 15 hours a day work ethic. And so I know from that capacity, like people can source their value by the amount of work they do. Like I'm only going to be good enough. I'm only going to deliver the results if I put in those 12 to 14 hours a day. And so any projector that's listening that may have been, conditioned or exposed to, you have to be a hard worker in order to be successful in your business, or a hard worker to be successful in life. Did you ever have that journey of needing to transition how you perceived yourself and your value?
I don't really think I had a problem with that because for me, I've always been in the mindset of it's what I produce that matters. It's
Yeah.
the outcome. The amount of time that I spend on it is relevant. And if I try to push through, I can spend a long time on something and not have it be great, like not have it go anywhere. Whereas if I just wait until I'm like, it's go time, I can crush through that in like, 4 or 5 times the speed. Just
Yeah.
because I can engineer things to the point where I'm like, okay, now is the time to do the work.
And I just have to say it again. I love when we talked previously, you're like, she owned this, she claimed this. She's like, when I show up, it is awesome. Like it is, you're going to get some
It
good
is.
stuff from me. And that ownership of that, like value in your expertise, in your confidence, like that is the projector way.
100%. Yeah. Like I might only work for a few hours a day, but when I'm on, I am 1,000,000%. Like I am going to show up. I'm going to rock your world. You're going to get so much value out of it. Like clients like always are like, oh my God, this is like the best thing. I can't believe you just did this like so quickly. And I'm like, yeah, that's because again, it's like, the plumber thing where it's like, you don't pay a plumber to come over for 10 minutes. You pay for like the decade of expertise behind it. And for a
Yeah.
lot of projectors, it's the same thing. And for me, it's about not just managing my energy, but priming my energy
Yeah.
to be in
Okay.
the right space. So for example, sometimes I'll go to bed at night and I'm planning to work on a project the next day and I'll be like, okay, like brain, think about this. And then I'll sleep. And because your brain is always working, if you give it a mission, you can wake up the next day and you're like, now I know what I'm doing. And
Yep.
it just all comes together. So realizing like you can sort of like hack your brain in these ways really makes a huge difference. So like instead of like slogging through something and being like, I got to put in my 10 hours, it's like actually it could take you two if you prime your brain to sort of like work in the background. And then when you sit down to do it, everything comes together.
Low. Awesome. I love the ninja move. So, what have you found in your business about how you deliver your services? And again, I want to hone in on how have you designed your business to leverage, I'm going to say your capacity, right? To leverage, to optimize your capacity, knowing that you don't want to work 40 hours a week, taking 40 one-on-one clients. So how have you put thought into that and been intentional about your service delivery to meet your own needs, your physical and your personal needs?
I think one of the things is just having a very limited, I know I say that like I do different things all the time, but it's more like I have a limited menu of services, but I might work with different clients that fit into that. So for example, one of the main things that I offer is a sales page makeover, which is sales page optimization. It is a really high value thing that sucks for most people to do. I am phenomenal at it. So like me spending a small amount of time on that is going to give record breaking results versus other people spending forever on that. So just realizing like, oh, I'm really freaking good at this and just leaning into it more. Because of course, like if you capitalize on sort of like something that you're already good at, like you have a natural knack or you already studied it or whatever, and then you lean into it more, of course, your skills go up, your value goes up.
Yeah.
So I was really specific about getting clear about like, okay, who do I work with? What do I do for them? What is something that is incredibly valuable for them that is actually like really fun and easy for me?
Yep.
So that is like a big thing. And then realizing that, if I do that, it means I can charge more and take less clients. And therefore, I don't actually have to take many clients in order to have a really profitable business.
And that can be applied to any energy type. Like I'm a manifesting generator, and it is the same thing as, what am I really good at that becomes very natural to me. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so interesting because I always see it as like, it's kind of like in a blind spot, like, oh, you
Yeah,
can't do tech like I do tech. Like, isn't it? Like I know enough to know that not everyone is, an expert in tech, but there are definitely
definitely.
superpowers. It's like, oh, you don't have that superpower. I will speak from experience. I have been a client of Katie's, and she is a sales page wizard. And not only that, she like wiggles things out of you in such a unique way that it
It's
just
true.
flows effortlessly. So if you're thinking right now, I can't do this, yeah, she does it in a very unique way. So I just had to plug that in because I have been one of the lucky receivers of Katie's work, and it is oh so good.
I love that. Wiggle it out. Yeah, that's exactly what I do. And it's like finding that unfair advantage.
Yeah.
And if it helps, like one of the things that sort of like tweaked me onto it, because like I've always been great at writing and I was like, man, like literally every teacher in the school was like, Katie's going to be a writer. And I'm like, no. Because for me, a writer was someone who like lived in a crappy cabin in the woods alone without any heating in their typewriter. And like their longest relationship they have is like with a sticky old whiskey bottle, right? Like that for me was a writer. And I'm like, I don't want any of that. But they were saying like one of the questions was like, what did you love doing as a child? And I loved to write, like I loved it. And I was like, well, maybe there's something there,
Yeah.
and there was.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's nothing that feels better than, using your skills to help other people. I just, other people that don't
Absolutely.
have that skill, that are like raising their hand, I need help. Well, how can I help you? Like that just feels amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you're like, that's one of my favorite things I tell people to do is like, just saying like finding someone who needs what you need and saying like, I can help you. Like those are the magic words.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about, when have you ever acted not like a projector in business, maybe initiating, or you had mentioned burnout, I think before.
Mhm.
But give us a little bit more about, or chat a little bit more about that. And what was your experience and when did you realize, oh, I needed to do something differently?
Yeah, sure. So initiating just sort of falls on deaf ears. Like, I'm
Mhm.
like, this isn't working. So like I kept trying and it wasn't working. So I'm like, well, okay, I'm gonna try something else.
Mhm.
Because it was like, why are you gonna keep doing something that isn't working? You have to take a step back, look at things and go like, okay, that isn't working. What did work for me in the past? Why did that work? And sort of analyze it and find what is the secret sauce for you. I ended up closing my business and then working full time for somebody else. So I was not in charge of my schedule anymore. And
Mm.
there were just things that came up, that, people get like a great idea. And even though like I finished something, they're like, oh, let's scrap it. Let's start again because I have a new idea. And I'm like, but I've already done that work. So that's where I got trapped into the hourly thing. And I was working like a banshee and I got incredibly burned out, like super, super sick. Like I was like I'm not even back to the person that I was before. And it's been many, many years. So burnout is real. I always thought burnout was something where you like, oh, you take a day off, you watch Netflix. Like, no, 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 no. This is like a medical condition. And it's very real. It is a very real threat for projectors. So being aware of it and realizing like you are not immune, and it's easier, like a million times easier to prevent it rather than go through it and then try and recover. So I'm very pro anti-burnout and anti-working like crazy, especially for anyone, but especially for projectors.
Any ninja tip if they are burnt out? One thing that maybe worked for you to overcome that, or change the ship, or change the direction of the ship.
Yeah, it's I mean, letting yourself just be is probably the best thing. Like taking the pressure off of yourself and just going like, okay, you know what? I'm not where I am or who I was at the moment. Like things have changed. There's been a significant change, and accepting where you are at the moment and stop trying to be who you were before. It's tough. Like I wish I had magical powers, but therapy is good. Time off is good.
Yeah.
Doing things that are just fun for you and have nothing to do with business. Good. Yeah. It's a
I love
journey.
it. Yeah. And, step one is just to recognize I'm burnt out. I need to do something different, and then
Yeah.
lean into, what do I need to do at this point? And really finding out that you're a projector, and giving yourself that permission slip to be, oh, I'm not designed to be the way that everyone's expecting me to show up. So
No.
taking ownership back of, being in charge of your own schedule is a big thing for you, so that you can rest without the CEO asking you, why is that girl resting all the time?
Totally. Yeah. No, I'm realized like I am meant to have a business because I want to design my life the way that I want.
Yeah.
And I like this afternoon, we're going to go look at pools. So you know what? That is my life.
Awesome. Speaking of that, last question. Have you done anything different to help the loved ones around you, or business partners around you, or anyone, like, recognize you are different and you need to operate differently? Is there any, was it always an easy thing, or did you have to have open conversations about it? And what was that like?
So my husband and I have been together for a long time. I think we've been together 16 years now this year. So he knows for sure. Like he'll be like, you need to rest. Like when I took this job, the job that burned me out, he was like, what are you doing? He's like, no, no, no. And I'm like, I'll be fine. And it was not fine. It was not fine at all. And he's just like, I knew that was going to happen. He's like, like you created this business because you need it. Like this is how you work and you thrive in it and your clients love you. Like you don't need to go work for anyone else. It's crazy. So he's like completely aware of it and gives me my space. I never had to explain anything. He just
Love it.
sees it. I don't explain anything to my clients because I don't need to. It's irrelevant. They get incredible work out of me. I guess the one thing is boundaries in terms of like just having people know that you're not going to be responding every day, right? Like if you email me, I may get back in 2 or 3 days, because if I am with a client, I'm with a client. I'm not like, oh, hold on, I need to go respond to this person.
Right.
So like if you start that expectation, you are going to have to keep doing that. If you are very, very firm on your boundaries, where you're like, okay, I work between 11 and 1 or whatever that is for you. And also include like answering emails in your daily schedule, right? Like this morning, I answer emails first thing. That was on my schedule of like what I'm going to do today, and plan it in, because if you don't plan it, it also adds to your day very, very quickly. So like, I'm very clear, like I might not answer every day. Like I might glance at it and be like, okay, like this is not critical fire issue. That's fine. All the things I do are very rarely an emergency.
Yeah.
It may be perceived as an emergency. But being pretty clear on your boundaries, and sometimes you need to say it and sometimes you just don't. You just act according to your boundaries, and then people will assume, they'll be like, oh, she doesn't work on the weekends. Oh, she doesn't reply after 4 p.m. or whatever that is.
So one last thing, again, answer that question, because to me, you're such a role model. And and because this is a projector conversation, I'm calling it out, like, right? Like a successful projector in business. What can you share to a projector, words of inspiration to a projector that's listening, that is just found out, like, I'm a projector, or they're overwhelmed, or how can I do this all? And how can I be successful? So message from one projector to another. What can you remind them or tell them to inspire them that, yes, they can do it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing is, most of the sort of common business rhetoric and advice is irrelevant for you. So if you tried it and it's not working for you, that's normal. Like, welcome to the party. The nice thing is it means that you don't have to work so hard. When you start owning your expertise and you're really clear about what you do and who you work with, people will start to recognize that and people will come to you. Like, it's so funny because I'm sort of starting a new offer, which I'm talking about that. But for my actual business, my real money-making business, I almost never talk about it. Like, I do like almost zero marketing. If I post about it once every 2 months, that's a big deal. I joke that it's my offline business because it just runs by itself now at this point. Like, people just come to me because I have owned that expertise. I have built that relationship. People know there. It's like the whisper network, where it's like, oh, you need this done, you got to go see Katie Momo. So you become someone's like best kept secret that they can't wait to share with somebody else. So that way they do a lot of the client sourcing for you. And then you don't have to do the things that aren't working in terms of like showing up and, trying to put yourself out there in the traditional sense. You can do it in a completely other way. So for you, it's probably going to be relationship building. It's probably going to be referral networks, as opposed to sort of more traditional, online business strategies, which is an incredible way to grow your business, by the way. When I also coach freelancers and service providers. So I give multiple different ways that I know work. I've worked for my clients, but I'm like, you choose what makes sense for you. I'm not that person who's like, oh, it's the proven net path, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, there's multiple proven paths. You just need to choose the one that suits you. And for me, it's really referrals. And I think that's probably the way for a lot of projectors, is that when people are sending qualified leads your way, you don't have to spend time marketing. You literally just show up, and almost every hour you spend in your business is profitable. So I love that.
That's words of golden nuggets that you're dropping. And it's really a beautiful example of, we can argue about this. If you were meant to work 9 to 10 to 12 hours a day, you wouldn't be a projector. You are designed on purpose. You are designed to be who you are. So really recognizing that and saying, I don't need to do that lead generation. Like, Katie doesn't need to do that lead generation because she's owning her expertise. And the other people are sourcing it for her. That's a key ninja move with projectors. The answer is like, how do I do it? The answer is owning your expertise.
Yeah.
And what she had said right at the beginning of building her expertise, she's curious all the time because she's, like learning from different areas, because that's innovation in action right there of, oh, how could I put this together and this together and this random thing
I love
together to even
that.
create a better solution. So it reminds me of my first class in my master's was innovation. And I'm like, oh, this is why I do what I do, because I'm like, you pull it from here, here, and suddenly you have this wow product or service or information available.
It's
Thank you,
true.
Katie. This was such a huge value conversation. I know several people that are going to benefit that I'm going to send this to directly, and then others that will hopefully see it as well on YouTube. So
Amazing.
anyone that wants more information from Katie, to follow her or to reach out to her, her information is going to be down below. And during this conversation, I realized I never introduced who I am. So who's this other person that's talking? I am Kelly Geisler Wilson. I am a business coach for soulpreneurs. So I really help you overcome your technology hurdles, help you define your strategies in your business to scale and to grow. So that's talking about leveraging your time, leveraging your systems, leveraging your marketing, and what Katie had spoke to. I also subscribe to being your own guru in business. And that is finding what works for you and giving the tools available to you to really understand who you are as the business owner and drive your business forward from that empowered CEO seat. So if you want to know more about Katie or I, please look at the show notes. Also, if you would like more support on your soulpreneur journey, please subscribe to the Soulpreneur Network. We drop videos weekly to support you on your journey. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Katie. This was such a great conversation.